Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylee and today we are back with another build on BooVille, Halloween Citycore Island. Today we'll be working on a little neighborhood for 4 of our villagers. I love how this area turned out, so let's get right into it. Alright, so my thought for this area is to connect the road from our entrance over here and then have a long road that goes all the way down to the beach. And then over off to the left side we'll have our 4 houses and they'll be in a little 2x2 square shape. So first we need to whip out our terraforming tool to get started on the pathing because we need to sketch out the layout before we move any of the houses or add any of our decorations. And I wanted to mention that this pathing is definitely a very different style than I'm used to, and it takes a good amount of time just to lay down the road codes for these areas. All of my islands that I've actually completed in the past have had more of a natural pathing, which is just using the 9 tile codes and making like little patches of dirt for the path. So this has definitely been a shift in mindset for me when designing, but so far I'm really loving how this island is turning out. This video is also mainly about the little neighborhood for our villagers, but I also wanted to finish off this little area. So we have this little interesting pentagon-shaped concrete section, and I was trying to decide what to put here because I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting than just continuing the trees up to this point, and then I landed on the idea of having a little bike parking spot. I was thinking of like a little seating area with a few of the natural tables and chairs, but I didn't want this whole area to be too repetitive because you'll see in a little bit that we actually do end up using that combination a little later in this video, so this area needed to be its own little spot and be a little unique. So first I added 2 rows of our fencing, the spooky fence and the hedges, which has honestly become a favorite combination for me. And then behind those fences I'm adding in 4 of the mountain bikes, which by the way, that I love that they decided to make this item have a slight angle, because sometimes while decorating in Animal Crossing I feel like it can end up being a little boxy because everything is like vertical or horizontal. So having a few items actually be on an angle brings a lot of joy to me. Also, on the topic of horizontal and vertical, I have to say one of the biggest challenges with this island so far is deciding layout, because this is my first ever real Citycore island, and I do want to have some interesting pathing layouts. I know we could have a Citycore island that was mainly only vertical and horizontal roads, but I love visiting other Citycore islands that have a bunch of diagonal paths and little cul-de-sacs or roundabouts. I feel like it just makes it a little bit more interesting, and I also think that allows for more greenery because in those odd shapes that get left behind from the pathing you can add little groups of trees and flowers. And I want this island to have a good amount of trees, especially because we're in fall and I love the shades of the orange and reds that the hardwood trees have. It really just has that fall feeling and I feel like it makes it a little bit more cozy. I do have an idea for an island that I like to refer to as the Grunge Graffiti Island, and that island I think wouldn't have as much greenery, just very industrial, but this theme I think the trees fit a lot more. But speaking of greenery, a few days ago we started a new island for our new Let's Play series, which I want to talk about in a minute, but as far as the island goes, I announced the theme in that video, and the island of Clover is going to be a witchy, foresty, and swampy island. So very different from this island, but it's still a little similar because they're both like a little bit Halloween themed. But this island will have a ton of greenery, and I plan to have a mix of the winding and organic pathing, and then a few areas will have a little bit more of a structured pathing as well. And that is something I like to do. Usually I like to work on around 2 different islands at the same time, and having them be pretty different I think helps me beat burnout a little bit, because if I work on BooVille and then I start to get frustrated with like the layout or something that I'm working on, I can take a small break and work on Clover, which is a totally different style of decorating. So it's nice to have those 2 different islands that are very different in style, because it's almost like flipping a switch in my brain to give the other side of my brain a little bit of a break. But back to the build for a minute. I am now in the process of finishing the layout, so I made 2 little streets with our brick code to give them a little bit of a sidewalk look, and then I'm mapping out the houses using the light dirt path, and then the small area between the houses will be where all of the Halloween decorations are, So I gave that area a little patio situation with the wooden deck code, and this is your reminder that I do have all the codes in my description if you're interested in using any of the ones that you see in this video. Now I'm doing the fun process of placing all of the houses and doing a whole lot of time traveling. For this front row, I am using Poppy's house and Pearl's house because they are basically the same house just with a different door, so I thought they would look super cute right next to each other. And then the back row will be Molly and Beau's houses because again, their houses are basically identical, so we have a super cute layout of double matching houses. I do actually have 3 of the log cabin style houses on the island, but I went for Beau and Molly here because they were the most similar. Okay, so small tangent, I also have a question for you because I am currently going through all of the stages of grief at the moment and I need all of your opinions. So if you watched our planning video, one of the build ideas I had mentioned I wanted to incorporate on the island was a university build. And like I mentioned before, the time between me building and recording my voice and posting the videos are off by a few days, so I've already started working on a few different areas on my island, and one of those was the university build, and by working on, I mean I made the entire build. But I had this feeling that it was a little too big of a build to fit my cozy little town vibe, but I absolutely love how the build turned out. I'm just not sure if it fits the vibe of the island completely, so this is where I need your opinions, where they come in, so let me know in the comments. Should I keep the university build and just make it fit the theme somehow, or should I scratch it and stick strictly to the small town vibes? Because technically, even a small town, you still need schools, right? So like that's my justification I'm trying to use to make it fit, because I really love it and I want it to fit, so let me know your opinions. Alright, tangent over, I want to talk about this build for a minute. So something else I noticed while decorating this island is that there is a lot more symmetry in my builds than I'm used to. Like this little area, the centerpiece between the 2 houses is the same on both sides, and then I added the same combination of chairs outside of the houses and just switched up slightly with the items I used on top of the tables. And I'm surprisingly really enjoying the symmetry, honestly, and it reminds me a little bit of Elegant Core, and this build makes me think that I could do an Elegant Core island, but have you seen some of those islands? They're spectacular, and I don't know if I could live up to my own expectations of how I'd want the island to look. But I do know that I like building with like the castle items and making these larger builds. So I do think I could actually really like Elegant Core. Let me know if you've ever done Elegant Core. I just honestly think it's such a brilliant theme and I love all the islands I've ever seen of it. But as you can tell, I did change this area in front of Molly's and Beau's house because I wanted to be similar to Poppy's and Pearl's house, but I didn't want it to be too similar. I wanted to be a little bit different, so it wasn't too matchy-matchy, and I went with the turkey day stands and this maroon plant that I'm not even going to try to say its actual name because I'll probably butcher it, but I think these little areas look so cozy and I can't wait to find my villagers just chilling here because it will be so cute. And that's something else I wanted to mention actually. I went ahead and got our final lineup for the island all set and loaded them all onto the island. And I've actually been talking to my villagers and not just completely ignoring them like I usually do. And I think just having a cute villager lineup makes me want to actually interact with them more. I don't know, I think it's psychology of some sort, but I love talking to my villagers now. I say that now, but in a couple weeks I'll probably completely forget about this conversation and just keep ignoring my villagers, but we'll see. But we are nearing the end of the video, so I'm just going through and adding some final smaller details throughout the build, like our street lamps and leaf piles and such. And once I'm done with the island, I might go through and fill in some spots on the sides of the roads with some more details, because I want this island to feel a little realistic, so those small details like a dropped acorn or something can really make a big impact. I also went through and added some of our natural items like our trees, shrubs, flowers, and a few bunnies to the front of this build, but I cut that part out, but you'll see it in the final outcome. I also keep forgetting to add the lines in the roads during the video, so here is proof that I am using these codes on the roads. But yeah, I have forgotten and just completed that part after the video in our other areas. But that is the final touch, so let's wrap this up and take a look at our final product. But that's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Before you leave, make sure to give the video a like, comment, and to subscribe to the channel. We just reached 2,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for all of your support and love for the channel. But I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends!